Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. This is Tomb Talks with the Pharaoh. I'm the Pharaoh Ali. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but we're back. And for today's episode, it's called Black Fathers Matter. And I have three very important guests with me today, and I'll have them go ahead and introduce themselves, and then we'll just get into it. Francis, you want to go first?
I'll knock it out. Francis Ike, father of two, husband, 2 years married.
All right, I'm Mylo Howard, originally out of California here. Newborn, I have a newborn. He is 11 months on the 24th. And yeah.
Going on, man. I'm Nelly B, dog. Originally from Louisiana, out here in California is where I'm currently stationed at. Father of one, 4-year-old. Yeah, active duty wife, active duty military family, dog, you know.
That's what's up. I need a sidebar for one quick second. Francis, your last name is pronounced Ike?
It is. I know for years everyone's been calling me Ike. It just became a nickname, bro. And like, it's funny, my wife, I was just talking to her about it. She's like, it's Ike. You gotta tell people that. I was like, man, it's just a nickname. I ran with it, but yeah, it's pronounced Ike, but Ike is like a nickname. Ashanti's laughing because he's called me Ike for like 20 years.
Like, since high school, it's been Francis Ike. Now it's Francis Ike. Okay. All right. Learn something new today. I can go to sleep. All right. So this episode is called Black Fathers Matter, and did that obviously because it's a play on some words. But when I was talking to my dad, one of the things when I told him that we were going to be doing this episode, one of the questions that he asked is that he wanted to ask, do you guys consider yourself Black or African? Because there's a difference between that, because I think sometimes Black is just a color where African might, African connects you more so to a people.
That's deep. I'm gonna start with that one, man. Coming from, the ethical standpoint that we, just finished up with Ali not too long ago, man. Black is the determinants of our people, but when you go deeper into the ethical and moral circumstances or prophecies in fatherhood, or since we're on that topic, but in general, it comes to those roots, and knowing where you're actually engraved from. I would say, like, knowing the difference between, or not even the difference, just your historical background. I think that's the main difference, because you can call yourself Black, but being African is actually in all of us, and people don't know that. So I'll start it there.
Thank you. And there was a quote from like a Wale song that said, it was before I have seeds, I need to understand my roots. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that, I was like, damn, like that actually is really, really powerful. And especially when you were talking about, it's like, you need to understand your roots, especially as a father. Like, if you consider yourself African, as an African father, understand your roots to pass down that knowledge.
Exactly.
Francis, Nelly?
I 100% agree. I kind of bring a different perspective to the conversation because I was born and raised in Nigeria. So from birth, I was Nigerian. And it's interesting that this is the topic because I have this conversation with my wife often. My wife is from here, she's from Georgia. So I get classified Black African-American, right? And she asked me, like, what are your thoughts? Are you Black or African? I said, I'm African because of where my roots are. I didn't hear the term Black until I went to different countries. So until I went to London, I was like, oh, you're Black. And we used to fight back. No, I'm not. I'm African. I'm not Black. I'm not a color, right? And the same thing when I came to America, I was often referred to as, yo, you're Black. And I'm like, no, man, I'm African. And I feel like that kind of back then created a divide because the Black Americans view that as us being better than them. But it was just coming from a place of, this is all I knew growing up was I'm African. No one ever called me Black. So for me, having kids who have a mix of both cultures, right? I classify as African. I call my kids are Nigerian. To me, they are, but they still have a part of American in them, and they should be proud of that. And learning to mix both, like there's a history that is in the American culture with slavery, things of that nature that we shouldn't let go of, but we should embrace the African side. Just like Burna Boy's mother said when he won a Grammy, was that every Black person to realize that they were African first before they were anything else. So that kind of speaks to, you know, understanding where you come from, that way that no one can hold that where you're just Black over your head. Like, no, I'm African, we're all Africans. And I think the more that we start to embrace that is when we kind of get to see our worth in this country.
Without a doubt. And what you said of what Burna Boy's mother said is that reminded me of something that Dr. John Henry Clark would say, is that before when they brought our ancestors over here to the Americas, they weren't bringing Jamaicans, they weren't bringing Haitians, they weren't bringing African Americans, they were bringing Africans. After they got here, they were made into those things. And it's like, so kind of like you said, going back to the roots. Going back to the roots of it. And I think that's something that's definitely impactful, because I think understanding your roots as a child growing up, it's like, it gives you a certain type of confidence. Nelly?
Yeah, dog. So I've never heard, I'm like complete opposite of both of y'all. Like, I've never heard the term, I've never been called an African-American male. Right, when I was coming up, I never was called, hey, you African this, you African that, or like, none of that. So like, being from Louisiana, all you hear is you Black. Oh, tall Black male. Oh, Black this, Black that. Them Black guys over there. So growing up, to me, hearing the term Black or hearing derogatory terms from like the culture down there being very racist and whatnot, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm a Black male. But my Black and the Black you're talking about are completely two different Blacks. Like, yeah, I'm a Black male, but I've like had to grow with this stigma of being a 6'4" Black male and being every stereotype. So I identify as Black for the simple fact on like, I'm Black. But when you say I'm Black, I want you to understand that when I call myself a Black male, it's different than what you used to reading about or hearing about or seeing on TV. Like, I'm a Black male that's present in my daughter's life. I'm a Black male that served in the military. I'm a Black male that got a job. I'm a Black male that got education. Like, yes, I'm a Black male, but I'm also not the one that you're talking about in a derogatory sense. So for me, when I started getting educated on like my roots and like African and like all these different, because in Louisiana, we don't know about Nigerian, we don't know about all these other races and cultures growing up. We didn't know about it. So when I started traveling and started realizing this, was like, oh, so it's deeper. Like y'all both said, it's way deeper. There's some roots to it, and there's some culture to it, there's some ancestry to it that's just like kind of makes you sit there and like, yo, why did they only try to put me in just this one color and not like this whole group of people? Like, it really opened my mind. I was like, yo, that's crazy. And I was like, but you know what? I respect that. But since I didn't grow up with that, I'm gonna continue to just own the fact that I'm Black, but I'm not sure Black. I'm my own Black. So therefore, that's how I've just conducted myself. That's how I believe to be myself. That's how I identify. And that's just my standpoint on that.
So it's kind of like, I'm not the label you gave me. I'm the label that I'm defining for myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that was a question from the pops, the bigger pops.
I like that.
OG pops.
What's up?
But I also wanted to ask you guys, is that like, what were your thoughts and feelings when you found out that you were going to be a father?
I'll take that first. Man,
Yeah.
I was nervous. I had an amazing father growing up. Like, my father was everything. And for me, so my story is I actually lost my father back in 2015. So for me, and again, I'll be open and thank you. I'll be open and transparent. It was a very, very tough time for me. I kind of went into like a deep depression in a sense. And of course, when you get into that mode, you start trying to fill a void with things that shouldn't be there. So partying, drinking, going out often, being just, promiscuous with women, the whole nine. And so it was difficult for me. But then a sense of me was really, really ecstatic. Like there's this new life coming into this world. Like this is my child. And my situation was a little bit different. So when I moved to Florida, I didn't know she's not my wife now, but we didn't know each other. We kind of met, hit it off, and then next thing you know, hey, we're having a baby. So it was a mix of just excitement and just nervousness, not sure. And I was scared, man, but it was an interesting time in my life. I think it was what I needed. Like God, I met the right person. Like I keep saying this, I'm so blessed. Like I met the right person. I'm in this amazing family with this amazing woman who like completely changed my life, and just excited to be a father, man. Like it was the best blessing, I think, the best gift I could have ever gotten, ever. Especially losing my father, I felt like I gained another piece of me when one was taken away. So that was kind of my take on when I first found out.
Big time.
Thank you for that.
Go ahead, Nell.
Man. So I'm a very, like you said, I'm a very transparent person. I grew up in the system. I grew up in the foster system, though. I grew up in homes, boys' homes, juvie. My relationship with my old man is very different. Like we have a very shoot on sight relationship. He's like, man, whatever family was supposed to be, dog. I didn't grow up with that essence. That's, I guess, it's a conversation for like another time. When I got married. I got married to my wife in the military. I'm a very like in the moment person. I don't really put too much thought into anything. It's just, what I'm saying, just a character aspect of mine. So my wife, she was like, yo, I want to have a kid. Are you ready? I was like, okay, whatever. That's what was brought to me. She was like, that's it. I was like, you don't want to go on deployment. You asked me, do you want to have a kid? I don't see no reason to say, what am I going to do? Say no? You talking about going there making a baby? That sounds like fun. Let's do it. And that was the conversation we had. This is like a real life conversation. And she was like, okay. So we planned it, man. She was like, I got one thing to ask you though. She was like, if we have a kid, I need you to take all that reckless stuff that you do and that stuff that you about, your tattoos and everything else. And I need you to, for once in your life, put it down and just focus on what we're going to have. I was like, I was like, what do you mean? She was like, you see being married as me as your weak point, but I'm not. So when we have a kid, I don't want you to look at our kid as a weak point for you. Because one of the biggest problems I had getting married was I considered my wife as a weak point in my mind, because that's how, not like she was weak, but if somebody wanted to get to me, you can go through my wife. So to get to me now, I was like, she don't want me to look at my child like as if somebody wanted to get to me, you can go through my child, And that was like the biggest thing with that. So, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, I don't know how to be a dad. I mean, I agreed to it, and we what I'm saying, we had a kid was conceived, it was great, but like nobody taught me how to be a father. I didn't have role models. I think Blade was the first role model I ever looked at a man and was like, yo, I want to be Blade. I want to be like that guy right here. So like I didn't have no
minus the tax evasion, but yeah.
I just recently saw that movie, again.
Right, man, I didn't have I had like OGs in the hood, and I had like, what I'm saying, male figures, but I didn't have no male role models. I could have been like, yo, what can I take from you to be a father? Like, where do I go? And at this point, I'm 20-some years old, and I'm like, I don't know what it takes to be a dad because I didn't grow up with it. I don't know what it takes to start a family because I didn't grow up with one. So I'm like, man, I'm really finna do this, but how? There's no roadmap to this. So I was like, I'm just going to do everything I didn't have, everything I didn't get taught. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to do opposite of everything I was shown, everything that I didn't have, I'm going to try to give, everything that I wish I wanted, I'm going to try to create. And that was my mindset and going into like having a kid, man. So I was like, it wasn't fear. It was more so just this like plethora of like emotions of being confused and not knowing what was going to happen next, you know? So yeah, man.
That's
But
dope. That's
so
dope,
that's where
bro.
I'm at with it.
Okay. Yep. So for me, man, growing up, I had my grandparents, my mother, and my dad was around like 12 years old. It was me and my brother. We were going back and forth with, home and everything. That was kind of like a norm during those times. Leading up to having our child, me and my girlfriend, we're not married yet. I met her at the job 3 years ago, coming out of college. I was ready to, start that family life. I jumped right into getting a job. I got my first car all through college. I didn't have a car. So, things were just opening up for me. Just, leaning towards that, independency that I always wanted, or stability. And, we actually planned having our child, which is a blessing. It's a boy, it's a boy. His name is Mylo. It means gift of God in the Filipino language. I have Filipino heritage, in my background, as well as a Creole blood, coming from Gentilly, New Orleans. But yeah, for me, having a kid was kind of a thing that I wasn't all the way ready, because they say that you're not ever ready. And that's something I got from my girlfriend. She told me, it's more of a, you're not going to ever be ready for anything. You just have to go into it, mentally, like how Nelly, explained his thing of how it worked out for him. This is a mental thing. I always take things mentally, on how you should approach life. And so that was the thing for me, man. And like I said, I got the youngest out of the cohort that we're talking here, and his birthday is next month, man. So I'm genuinely happy, man, for real.
Thank you all for that. And something that you said, Mylo, is that you're never gonna be ready. And one of the things growing up is, well, not growing up, was like, as I was in like adulthood, one of the things that I kind of had to realize also about like just my parents is that they're still figuring it out. It's like being a parent, you're always going to be learning, because it's like, it is going to, the fact that one of my sisters is 36, sorry, I think she's 36. Like, that's the first time they're having a child that is that age. They're still figuring out, like, how do I operate when this is a person that I used to change their diapers for, and now it's just like they're a grown woman. It's like, how do you operate those types of things? And they're still learning. And I think for some people that are listening, if you have some issues or something like that with your parents, it's like, give them a little bit of grace and understanding, because we, as children, when we grow up, we're thinking parents are like, oh, like they're untouchable, like they don't become people until you're adults. Before that, it's like, it's always just, it's mom, it's dad, or it's just like they're an entity that you can't really question.
Right.
But give them leeway, and then just understand to a certain extent, it's like they are figuring it out too. They are your parents, yes, but they are also allowed to make mistakes.
Right.
And Nelly, it was something that you said, it's like growing up, it's like you had male figures there, but you didn't necessarily have like father figures. So I wanted to ask the whole panel, is that, do you think that there's a difference between being a father and being a dad?
Honestly, G, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't even know how to answer that, dog. Like I said, since I didn't grow up with parents, like mom or dad, dog, I didn't even hear the whole father dad thing until later. I mean, I consider myself a dad. You know what I mean? I've never said the word father. I've never heard nobody say that's my father. So if I was like try to, you know what I'm saying, differentiate between the two, I wouldn't know where to even start, man. So
Yeah, I think. See, Nelly, he has a great understanding, man. And it's just crazy because I mean, it's all about how you conceptualize it, man. And just from growing up the way I have, been able to experience a lot of different, cultural backgrounds and whatnot. Hearing the difference for me, anybody can be a dad, but being a father is actually, taking care of his, not saying you're not, but if you look at a societal way of that question, just to put it in two perspectives, I would say being a dad is just being there, being the birth child of your son or your daughter, and not actually, participating in his life, or actually going the extra mile to make sure that you're there and present. Whether
low-key just kind of being a sperm donor.
Right, and it's dads like that, and that's why I'm differentiating the both of them just to give a perspective, But I this is my opinion on it. It's not, genuinely, it's not. It may not be accurate, but this is my perspective on it. Whereas a father, you're there 24/7. When your father that you had, growing up wasn't there, like you were saying, Nelly. So that's what I get from it. Absolutely.
So the distinction that you're kind of making is that a dad is more so someone who just did the act of making the child, right. Whereas the father is more so the person that sticks around, see how that little nigga looks like, and then like actually raises the child.
Again, that's values. That's my perspective on it. Just hearing if you want to, saying if you want to put it in a different, different boat. That's just my perspective on it. Not saying anyone is wrong, but hey.
But I think that there does need to be a distinction. There we go. Words are hard. Because I agree with your sentiment. For me, the terminology is switched. Is like
that's what I'm saying.
A father is someone that's just like, I just fathered a child. But a dad for me is just like, because like I either call my dad or pops. Right. And for me, I guess dad has more of a intimate connection to it. It's just like you were versus a father, but the underlying premise of the distinction between the two are still the same.
Relevance, right? Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, however, it can be in that reverse the way you said it. Absolutely, man.
But as long as people get the concepts.
As long as you know the concept, that's what I've learned, man.
Like, it doesn't matter how you want to label the bottle. Did you get the content?
Absolutely.
Francis?
I'll kind of follow those same sentiments. It really depends on the context and what it means to you. So kind of like with Mylo, what I've seen is like fatherhood is someone who sticks around for the journey and is there to pick you up when you fall down, where a dad is, okay, I see you every Saturday. All right, I got my turn in. I'll see you next week. So that's kind of what I've seen. So as I became a father, I kept on hearing the term fatherhood as more of that being complete. But like you said, it's all relative to the person who's hearing it. So someone else, dad might be that term for them where it's, my dad was always there. He was my everything. And the father's just someone who fathered the child. So I think it really depends, what your perception is of the term. And like you said, as long as you're getting the same nutrients from the bottle, I mean, it doesn't really matter how you label it.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. And so I'll use Mylo's sense of it. It's like, I obviously view all you guys as fathers, not dads. It's like fathers, because you're here taking care of your children. And I wanted to ask you, and then Nelly, I might like switch it up just a little bit for like in terms of the question for you is like, so what qualities make a good father? And then Nelly is like, what qualities are you emulating from places you picked up that you're implementing now to be a good father?
Okay. Y'all want me to take that first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to single you out, but I didn't want it to be
No. Hey,
overarching
listen,
type of thing.
I appreciate all of this. This is great to like have like minds talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm 20. Listen, I just turned 29 on Saturday, dog. So you know, to talk to like,
Hey, happy belated.
yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's like to talk to people, man, and get this information right now, dog. Wise men only get wise from talking to the wise men, baby. So I appreciate it. You know what I mean? I will say, dog, really, I'm gonna start this off with my biggest struggle as like a dad, right? My daughter's 4, man, and like my biggest struggle for me is not being the most emotionally attached person because of like life. Was to how do I differentiate sternness with being gentle? Like how do I navigate teaching my daughter to be tough and be a woman and be independent, but also be soft? I got taught never to cry, never showing emotion. But now that I'm older, I'm like, yo, that was a wrong way of teaching somebody. Okay, so how do I tell my daughter, yo, be in that moment and cry, have your moment, but pick yourself up, throw some dirt on it, rub some, you know what I'm saying? Hey, buck up. Don't never let what made you fall make you fall ever again. And you know what I'm saying? Carry on. You know? So now, like when she falls, I tell her, get up, throw some dirt on it. You know what I'm saying? Keep moving. Give me 2 1s and 1 2, which is a left and a right jab for her. And that's what I have her do every time she has a moment. I let her have it. When she's done, I tell her, give me 2 jabs, throw some dirt on it, and we keep moving and trucking. But it took me a while to get to that step because at first I was like, nah, get your ass up. Like, what are you crying for? Get up. And then my wife was like, hey, yo, you're being too aggressive, bring it back. I was like, all right, well, damn. What do I bring it back? Like, how do I learn how to do it? She was like, and my wife was giving the best advice. She was like, yo, you know how you scare people that are like never been around a 6'4" black guy before, and you know how you kind of switch up your tone, you know how you kind of approach it, right? It's like, yeah, she's like, do the same with your daughter. Approach her a certain way, deal with it a certain way. You want allowed to cry, let her cry. You want allowed to feel, let her feel. All you can do is let her know that you're there, because if you shut her off, then you know what I'm saying, you continue in a cycle. So for me, I've been still learning. I mean, I'm still learning now to catch myself when I'm about to be not sympathetic towards what she's going through or what she's feeling or understand it. And my wife's on deployment, so it's just me and my daughter. But you know what I'm saying, months on months in. So learning how to deal with a baby girl is completely different than anything. I've never been trained on how to do this. Once again, I never knew. I don't know how to be a father. I don't think nobody really knows in a sense. So it's like I'm making it up as I go. And I take Will Smith and his relationship with the Fresh Prince Will Smith and his relationship with
that Will Smith. That's the Will Smith.
his relationship with like, you know, the Fresh Prince Will Smith, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Avery, George Avery, the pops from Fresh Prince. You know what I'm saying? I look at that and I remember like looking back on some of their conversations, some of their moments. I'm like, okay, that's dope. I look back on even Medea and I look at how Medea talks to the kids that she has to discipline. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Because like my only advancement, my only like way to like find how I want to deal with certain moments, situations with my daughter is to look and see what some of these TV shows, sitcom dads did, these black fathers, black families did, and be like, okay, all right, but how do I apply that to real life? Like, how do I teach my daughter everything that I know without her going through the pain it took for me to learn it? And that's where I'm at now, is to give her everything I have, but without her having to feel that emotion that I had to feel to get to this point. And that's what I'm trying to learn now, you know? So
you're trying to give her all of the benefits, but none of the costs that had
right.
None of the emotional baggage that you had to get that.
Right. Or at least be there, you know what I'm saying? At least give her that option of, yo, if I'm stuck, I can ask dad, versus if I'm stuck, I got to just figure it out. Because if I ask dad, he's going to tell me just figure it out, which is something that I feel like a lot of black people have to deal with, is like, you don't feel like you can go to your parents for anything because, you know, they shut you down so quick before you even got the answer, because they wanted to live through you so bad versus allowing you to just live. You know, I'm trying to like let my daughter know that I'm there no matter what. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I've been trying to learn to get better at. And it's like I said, she's 4, man. I've been doing this 4 years. So I'm just like still learning and going currently.
Dope, man.
That was a message. Sometimes your parents try to live through you. They don't have time for you. Wow.
Yep.
Ooh.
Go ahead, Francis. You got it, bro.
Man, bro, it's hard. I don't know where to start. So for me, I have my daughter's 3 and my son just turned 2 yesterday. So
another happy belated birthday.
Hey, happy belated, man.
Happy belated, man.
Thank you.
Ooh.
So for me, it was like, you know, having a baby girl, you have to adjust. There's a lot of things I don't know, like I don't understand. And my wife had to teach me. So I'm like, all right, great, I got this figured out. And then boom, I have a son. And now it's like, I can't really do the same thing with him. It's a little bit of a different approach, right? Like I might be a little bit more stern with him, which was my thought process. But then same thing like Nelly was talking about, like I still have to let him feel like my dad wasn't like that with me. So my experience is it's different because, so my dad was older. So my dad passed, he was 73. So he had me when he was older. So I got that old school teaching, especially being in an African home. I got that old school teaching. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't speak your opinions. You don't have feelings. You're a child. So with my daughter, it was like letting her feel, like Nelly said, like if she's crying, let her cry, but then talk her through it. Like this emotion that you're feeling, like, let me talk you through it. And, you know, with my son, I thought, okay, he's a boy. I got to be hard. I got to be stern with him. But it was like, no, I can be kind with him too. Just moments I have to be stern, but it's not raising anger. And my thing was patience that I'm still struggling with today, is just patience, like not quick to get angry, but quick to question, like, why are you feeling so upset? Why are you throwing a tantrum? Why did you throw that toy? Versus, you should never throw that toy. You're a child. You should never do that. And, you know, for me, it was trying to like reprogram what I've seen growing up in an African household, which is very strict. My parents were a little bit more lenient with us though, which is the thing. So I think it was just like programming, like things I've seen. It's like, okay, like you're a dad of a girl, you have to be soft. You have a boy, you have to be stern. So learning to switch those things up, like you can adapt to every different situation. And there's not an answer key for everything. Like Shanti said at the beginning of the call, like our parents didn't know everything. Like it took, now I'm 28 and I'm like, my mom could be wrong. Like she wasn't always right. So same thing with them. Like sometimes I might be wrong with my kids, and being able to listen and learn. So that's the biggest thing for me. It's kind of like taking a softer approach and being patient and actually listening and talking to them. Yes, they're 3 and 2, but they have a lot to say and they don't know how to say it because they're still trying to figure out the language. So just being patient with them, that's kind of like my biggest struggle. And I'm still working on it daily. And another side I want to bring to it is another side that kind of feel plays into it. I played sports. I played football in college, high school. And I'm always taught to be aggressive. Like same thing Nelly goes to, like I'm 6'5", like I've been big all my life. That's all I've known. And it's like, I'm taught to always be aggressive. But like with him, like a certain realms, I have to tone it down because I don't want to intimidate people too much, right? Because of my stature. And it's like, I do that with people, but why am I not doing that with my kids? Right. So for me, like it hit home, like that's something I need to work on, just being gentle in moments, but learning how to be stern, but not aggressive is another thing that I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to like teeter that line. So I would say, yeah, like patience for me, man, is trying to find that key and always learning. Like I'm not going to figure out everything. Once I feel like I have one thing figured out, they grow. They have a different behavior. They learn something differently. So just being patient with that.
Once you figure out the 7-year-old, now they're 8, and it's like, oh, this is a whole different ball.
Yep, that's big time though, man.
So, yeah, this
Go
is
ahead,
not doing anything with what we're talking about. But Nelly, you're 6'4". Francis, you're 6'5". Mylo, how tall are you?
6 feet.
Fuck, I'm the shortest person on here. God,
yeah.
Yo.
Well, I'm the oldest, it seemed. They said he was 28. Nelly, you said he was 29. Yeah, I just hit 30, but no, because how old are you, Shanti?
I'm 28.
Okay, wow. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel I feel
I'm
65.
usually always the youngest, but that's crazy.
Yeah, you're big bro now.
Man. But yeah, man, on that topic, man, for me, Francis hit it home, man, with patience. I had the blessing to engage in to engage in patience, man. During our first summer in our graduate program, me and Ali, I had an internship, first ND job. I was able to go to Seattle, Washington and work with special needs, man. And for me, that was like a turning point. I've always been good with kids, working, with Park League when I was growing up in the city out here, as well as sports and everything. But having an opportunity, man, on a bayfront, being able to work with people from London, the UK, Ireland, Scotland, and just all over, and being the only Black individual there, it was it showed me, it wasn't about race, it was more so a classism thing. And having that, the opportunity to work alongside of them with these individuals that, have different deficits, it gave me a different type of patience, man. And I endure that, with my son. But the challenge is, I think with mothers having, a boy, that's their go-to, because I actually wanted a daughter, but I was blessed with a boy because that's what God, I feel like, needed me to have. But in that sentence I was finishing, women, they tend to their child way more than fathers, in an aspect of, just embracing. So for me, when my son cries still to the day, I will let him cry, like how Nelly explained, let him cry it out, and then explain to him why are you crying? Figure out what it is. Why are you throwing that tantrum? Have that will to learn, like Francis said, like have that will and to engage with your child or individual in all aspects, as to, if you're interested, figure it out. And I think that's the two home points for me, man, just patience and having that will to learn and engage with them, being present, and, just stay on top of their every move. Like, cause my son, second day when he was born, man, he had to have surgery. And I think it was a stigma that, was pushed against him, coming from, the background I've had with my master's and all of that. It was a white doctor that, was determined to do his precision, and he messed it up. I'm sharing this on here because I feel like they need to know. But just for him to go through that, and me seeing how he, progressed through that, just knowing, that he was, my son, seeing the same type of, energy through me was in him, and that's what I gained from that. So seeing that kind of just showed me, okay, boom, that's me all over again, so that was real for me, man. And my little man is a rock, bro, for real.
I want to say thank you for sharing that. That's
yeah, absolutely.
Because that's definitely something as a parent that's hard to go through. It's like having your newborn go through like a surgery like that, especially with, like you said, with our background. It's like we know how. Now, fuck it, it's my platform. Fuck it, we know how these white doctors are,
man.
And,
real talk.
They'll push something where it's just like it doesn't need to happen. You would like it to happen. You might think in your mind it's the best thing, but it's like, but then especially in your case, it's like when they mess up, it's like, nah, that doctor should not have their license right now.
Exactly.
Because no matter if you change 100 or 1 trajectory of like someone's life, if you mess up and you change someone's life, you shouldn't, especially if it's a procedure that you were pushing someone to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, whole case is on, and it's in the works, man. It's already in document, and we just gotta wait till he gets older to see how his progression, or how he can endure or engage. If he can't, then we'll get paid out. But if he live on and he has normal actions, then it's fine. But that was a big thing, man. It's really crazy.
I didn't know that. But again, thank you for sharing that, because that's
Absolutely.
again, that is something hard for a parent to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how to really pivot from that.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the, and I'll say that, I'll say this about myself, is that like one of the biggest fears that I have is like, if I ever do get married and have a kid, is that like I always worry about the health of my child, like from like step one. And I guess that'll be the question I ask, is that for everyone on the panel, is that I know I asked like what were your thoughts and feelings when you found out you were going to be a father, but it's like, did that thought come across your mind like during the pregnancy? It was just like, oh, like what is the health of my child going to look like coming out, or going to be? I'm sorry.
That was big time for me, man. I'm big on my health as it is today, with taking my CMOS, elderberry, multivitamin. Like that's been since I got out of college and been able to do it. But yeah, I mean, for him it was like, yeah, even though I had the experience in working with individuals with special needs or whatever it may be, I didn't, I was, that was a prayer, every night. I want my child to be healthy, strong, and eventually independent when he gets of age. But that's for sure, was through the thought process, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, and to second that, I mean, same here as well. That was definitely a fear, even delivery room. Just that fear for my wife, because Black women was a higher death rate during pregnancy.
Yeah, they have a higher, more
Mortality, is that the right word?
mortality. Well, they have a higher infant mortality, and I'm forgetting the other. Mylo, help me.
What's the other one? Infant mortality and I think it has to do with delivery, huh? No.
Yes, it is delivery, because majority of the time is that because of the way, excuse me?
Is it C-sections?
It's C-sections, but then it's also, the thing is that the way that doctors are trained, and whether it's conscious or subconscious, is that they do believe that Black women can endure more pain than other people.
Yeah.
So when a Black woman tells them that they're in pain, they're less likely to give them an epidural.
Epidural, right.
Yeah. And the problem is that like when they're actually in pain and something is wrong, then like they end up dying from that. And that goes across economic, like income levels, because Serena Williams, the top female tennis player, when she was delivering her child, she almost died. It's like, so there are levels to that. Yeah, but that's unfortunately what you had to experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was definitely top of mind for me and my family. And just kind of a story, a good friend of mine, my brother, you actually met him, Ashanti. His name's Courtney. You met him a while back. But long story short, I'll get into this a different topic, but he had a son who later found out was not his son, but to him, it's still his son. And he had to have open heart surgery as a baby. He's went through multiple surgeries. And I mean, that's a strong little man. And so I saw that in college. So that was my experience of someone close to me having a child. So automatically my brain was going there. Like I'm nervous, terrified. And yeah, it definitely did cross my mind as something similar to what Mylo said. I had to pray about every single day and just, pray everything went well. And I'm blessed that both of my kids, that they're healthy, no issues. And, I'm just really, truly blessed. I know people who on the other spectrum of that who had to worry every single day and still have to worry every single day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Once again, yeah, I look at things, react to things a very different way, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So, military, when you have a kid in the military, they prioritize the service member. So if this with any complications, they'll kill the kid, let the service member live. If that's you know what I'm saying, that's their approach. And you sign a waiver stating that you understand if there's any complications and it's a true situation, your child dies, the mom lives because she's active duty. Barton.
Never knew.
So my wife, she had problems, and she has her jokes and her inside comments about it. She had problems having children before me and her met. She had got pregnant, had a miscarriage with whoever she was dating before, and they always had a miscarriage. So whenever me and her got together and we linked up, and she was like, "Yo, I honestly do not know if I can have kids. I don't know if it was just that person. I don't know if it's whatever it is. I don't think I can really have kids." So we had that conversation. And then when the whole thing popped up, and she was like, "Yo, let's just try to have a kid out of nowhere." I was like, well, that's why I was just even I think there's even more. So I was like, whatever, let's do it. Either it works or it doesn't. Like, I know that sounds very like, damn, but it's like, that's just how my mind works. So when we was in the hospital and we found out we was having a girl, I mean, I wanted a boy, but I guess the world was like, nah, we gonna calm your ass down some type of way. Okay, I get that. Yeah, man, when we was in the hospital, dog, when you said that epidural comment, dog, I was about to lose it, dog, because if my wife was here, she would have a field day right now, B. So I'm not gonna say I'm a very calm person, but like when I don't understand stuff, I kind of try to keep my mouth shut, because when I'm in a non-understanding situation, my temper can kind of get out of control and spiral, because I don't know what's going on. And if I don't feel like I'm the smartest person in the room, so to speak, and I'm not like, nobody's like, so when you're in the room in a hospital and there's doctors and something happens to your spouse and involves your spouse and your child, as the guy and the protector of your family, part of you wants to snap. But if you snap, you're going to get risk thrown out, or you're going to risk messing up whatever happening. But the biggest problem is you want to know what the fuck is happening. You want to know, like, somebody tell me what's going on. My wife had an epidural and they messed it up somehow, some way. And her blood pressure shot through the roof. And when her blood pressure shot, my daughter's blood pressure, it went down. So my wife's peaked and my daughter's went down, like almost like flatline down. And they was like 5, 6 doctors rushing the room, nurses in the room. So you got all these people around my wife and I'm like about to spaz because I don't know what's happening. They're moving me out the way. They pushing me out the way. They trying to get her room. And I'm thinking like, dog, I was like, God, look, I ain't never asked you for nothing in my life. I don't even talk to you like that. Like, we don't even have a conversation, B. And I was like, listen, I don't know. I know I told you years ago, I stay out your way, you stay out of mine. This is like a real life conversation I'm having in the hospital. Like, God, listen, I know I'm not the most religious person, B. But if I'm supposed to have a kid, dog, don't let it be like this, dog. Don't let this happen. Because I can probably take it, but I do not think that girl in that bed right there who I call my wife can take that, dog. Do not do that. And like, I'm about to spaz out because nobody's looking at me, nobody's answering my question, and I don't know what to do. So my reaction, default, swing on everybody. Fuck it. Somebody gonna answer me eventually if I just start hitting people in here. My wife, I guess somehow, some way she must have heard me like in my head. I don't know. But like through all this madness, man, she reaches out and grabs, like I see her hand, and like, so I reach my hand, she grabs me, holds me, squeezes me. And she was like, she's crying tears, dog. She's upset. And she was like, stay calm. Like through all of that she's going through, she just was like, stay calm. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, all right. Whatever it is, she just told me to stay calm, B. And it's just like a weight lifts off my shoulders, dog. Anyway, after everything happened, they told us that they messed up the epidural some type of way. She responded to it some type of way. She went through an increased pain situation, dog, but my daughter was fine. We did have to do an emergency C-section later, but that was only because like my daughter just got stuck and she just didn't want to act right. And I mean, yeah, she already knew from birth she just didn't want to do what she wanted to do what she wanted to do. So I guess. But yeah, man, I could definitely say that situation. Yeah, like I said, that situation, dog, is it really like set like my brain on like, dog, if I've never been in like father mode before, dad mode before, I was in it at that very moment. Like, yo, just let my kid be born, be like, she done got this far. She done finally hit 9 months with a child, dog, in its mind. Let it happen.
Yeah. Yep.
Nelly, something you said is like, and I want to ask Mylo and Francis this. Have you guys had to go into full dad mode before? Just scorch earth, something with like, just whoever has a face is gonna get punched?
Bro, that situation I told you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Boy, what? And everybody was looking at me as if I was the victim, you know. But yeah, that whole scenario, bro. It was rough, bro. It was really rough, man. They transferred us, you know, they took their time. So first, where we were at, the first hospital where we were at, originally we were, you know, we did the home birth. You know, we had a doula and a midwife. That process was delayed for 5 days because she was in labor for those whole 5 days, you know, and it didn't happen.
Labor for 5 days?
5 days, bro. Yep. And she still was a fighter, man. And, you know, that 5th day, we had to go to the hospital. You know, everything went well, vitals, everything, hearing. The last thing, you know, was his circumcision. And, you know, that was the last thing before we left. After 2-3 days staying in the hospital, you know, through the process and everything, that happens, you know, boom. So they call us, or they come into the, you know, the room and tell us, you know, okay, mind you, my girl hears, you know, my son from, you know, across the room. He yells loud, you know, and she was like, oh, is that him? I was like, no, that maybe not be him, but it was him, you know. And they come in holding them, saying, you know, the surgeon or the guy that did the circumcision was crying, you know, and said that he messed up. And he showed an image of what he did, you know, he tipped off the tip of the penis and whatnot. From there, they say, okay, we can, you know, rush you guys to the hospital today. But the farther you can't go. You can't go in the ambulance truck. So I was, what are you talking about? Only one parent can go. Why can't I go? This, mind you, this is during COVID time. You know, they limit your access to certain things, or visitations. But yeah, I was high. Like, why the fuck can I go? You know, I'm the father here. You know, why can't we both go? So I had to straighten this guy out. That guy, mind you. And, you know, he was telling me only one person can go. So that was the first thing. Then we get to the surgery hospital, you know, and they try to copay us, you know, $250 and saying, you know, you have to pay for basically the travel that you had to, you know, commit that they put us through, you know. So that was another scenario, man. But yeah, I ain't gonna go all the way into the story, but man, that was my father moment, boy. Trust me.
Yeah, because I
sure.
Like
it was run around. You know how Tuskegee was for us, man. So being able, you know, having that experience, man, and just knowing how to get through it, it was automatic for me. You know, I was gonna find a way, regardless, by any means. Like it was gonna get done to how I wanted it. You know, so it's crazy.
So I guess the runaround works sometimes.
Absolutely,
it serves a purpose, but it also just, come on. We know it's not necessary, but it does. Sometimes it just pops up and it's just like, I've been through this before.
Exactly.
It's like I know how to operate through this when you're trying to make it hard, but I know I can still squeeze through.
Absolutely. For sure, bro.
Yeah, because just telling a father you can't go with your son, your newborn son.
Man, what?
Like people will get choked. People are liable to get choked. Like,
and that's
telling
that's why
someone
we that's why we try for the home birth, and that exact reason, because we were so against the hospital system, and because of that exact reason, and so it happened, but we were trying to eliminate all of that bull, and that is the research you have to do, for parents that don't know, that home birth, that now that I went through that, they say the home birth is better for the second child. But if you want to eliminate, the negative stigma that they give, you should try the home birth. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for that. And you said that you had a doula.
Yeah, a doula. You remember?
Could you explain what a doula is real quick? Just sorry,
Yes.
Francis, I know I'm putting you on hold for a second, but
No, yeah. Doula it's basically an everyday caregiver for your mother, the mother and the child, to make sure that she is nurtured the right way. She has her, right nutrients, snacks, everything, that goes along with the midwife as well. But a doula is more hands-on, with educating her and giving her, knowledge on, what's best for her and her body. Mm-hmm.
okay. So for those who want to do a more holistic,
Absolutely. It's a holistic approach of how, the Western way of delivering children back in the time was, the only way they can do it through holistic approach. And, it's always what's best for you, but, if you're cognitive and, on a moral compass, then, it's a no-brainer for you. But it takes not educating yourself, to get into that phase of
I have one more question for you. Is that during that, even though you had a doula, did you guys also utilize like more Western medicine in terms of like ultrasounds and things like that? And it's like, so was it more of a tandem, or was it more so just strictly dealing with the doula?
Yeah, so with the doula, or I would say the midwife, once the once the child is born, she actually takes the placenta and creates them into pills for the mother to take after after birth, for her to get the nutrients to serve her son or daughter through breast milk. It's a not a supplement, but like a
like an additive.
Natural source that they can take for after the birth to stay neutralized, and it helped her. Absolutely. I believe she still is breastfeeding 11 months. So that's another one. That's another thing. Take note of that. It may cost $250. I think she paid for it to be, broken down into the pill form. But it's well worth it for sure. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. I've learned a lot through this fatherhood, man. So that's why when you hit me up about it, I was like, wow, it's some stuff, that I can share that, somebody else may not know, or, just interested in learning. So big time for me, man.
And that's the thing that I want to do. I want to make this type of information available for all men, but also especially our African brothers and sisters, but today, the African brothers, people that are gonna be fathers, not dads, fathers.
Yeah.
And we need to do that. Francis, your father moment.
Man, I don't know if I had one yet. to be honest. I mean, there's little moments here and there. So it's funny that everyone here has shared kind of a birthing story where things kind of happen. And with me, it happened with my son. So when we're in the delivery room, first thing is they couldn't find my wife's vein. Took the nurse like forever to find her vein to put an IV in. So she's sitting there like what's going on? And she's a air medic. She's in the Air Force. So she knows like the process. She's like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? So it was like 30 minutes for them to even like 30 minutes, an hour to find her vein. So she's already irritated. And then the epidural,
They must have poked her a couple of times then.
oh yeah, it was bad. Like it was really, really bad. Like they had to get, I don't know what the next step is, but it was the nurse.
I think it's the next step is the hands. And then if they can't get the hands, then I think it's like they put in, like they do the finger.
Yeah. They try that, but then it was the nurse, and then they called the lady above the nurse to come in and do it.
Mhm.
So it was like she's already irritated, frustrated. So then it was that, and then I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, her epidural, they waited too long to give it to her. So she was already in a lot of pain by the time they give her an epidural. And man, seeing that thing go in, bro, I said, never in my life. Like, boy, it's a needle this long. Like, yeah, bro. Women go through a lot. That's one thing I learned. Women go through a lot when it comes to giving birth. Like it's not easy feat. So it was that. And then when my son finally got here, he, stubborn baby, apparently he was coming out feet first instead of head first. So it was like
all these hit the ground running.
Boy, he was ready.
He was ready to go.
The same thing with Nelly, bro. I'm over here like, bro, I don't know nothing about this process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm freaking out. Like, what do I do? Like, I'm looking at people like, what are y'all gonna do? Like, what's going on? So I think kind of that was like my dad moment. Like, I went to like super defensive mode. Like, what's going on? And yeah, man, it just wasn't really like a great process, to be honest. Thankfully, everything panned out, but it was just like a lot, man. And yeah, I would say that was kind of like my first dad moment. And to kind of say what Mylo said as well with the placenta, I wanted to do that in a hospital. They charge like $600-$700 for that.
Yeah,
ridiculous. But I've heard from multiple people, it helps the women, like it helps with their mental, because when you're pregnant, when you give birth, it's like your brain shrinks down to the size of a peanut or something like that, something crazy like that. I don't know the exact, medical term, but the placenta helps them kind of get back to like their hormones, get back to normal and balance quicker. So typically after birth, it takes a woman a year to get back to like herself. And with my son, we had 2 under 2. So her body never really got the full chance to heal. So just, yeah, like Mylo said, definitely you can do it. Definitely get the placenta, it helps. We did do it in our instance, and I noticed like it took her like 2 years to like now she's getting back to herself. Yeah, so I'll say that's kind of like my first, that was like my dad moment, I guess.
Definitely your dad moment, bro. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Of the only person on here that doesn't have kids, watching your wife go through childbirth is fucking frightening. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I'm gonna stay childless. If that's what it takes. Yeah. You're just gonna get me. You're just gonna get me. No mini-me's running around. Because I just know me, how I'm a protective person. It's just like, I'm heavily protective over my family and then my friends. It's like, now if I have a little person that's half of me, I might go to jail. And I know that, like, I get that from my father, because my dad has told me all the time, it's just like, he told me that he would not mind spending jail time for us. If someone did anything to us, he was like, if I get caught, I'll get caught. But I don't mind doing that because you're not going to touch my family. And that's, I know we joked about the whole Will and Jada thing about like which Will we're talking about, but that's the type of protection that people are looking for. Like, it's not walking up and slapping someone because they made a joke. It's that type of visceral reaction where you know something is not right and you're going to do something about it. And Nelly, you said something that kind of resonated, that made me think about something. It's just like, you didn't want to be that angry Black man in the hospital, because a story that I read about, it was that there was a Black woman that was dealing with the medical apartheid, the racism within the medical system, and her husband knew something was wrong, and he wanted to say something, and he was getting irate for the fact that the doctors weren't coming and checking on her. But the thing that that kind of held him back was the fact that it's like, I know if I start getting aggressive, I'm going to be labeled the angry Black man and then removed from the situation. And now the only person that's out, like in that room, that's going to be fighting for her outside of her has just been removed. Mm-hmm. So I think it's hard, because it's a balancing act, especially when we're dealing with the medical system, is that if it was a white person, if it was a white man that was getting irate, they'd be like, oh, like, it's his first baby, or like his wife's going through this, they would give understanding. But then for us, it's like, oh, he's angry, he's a liability to everyone on the floor, get him out of here. Just kind of want to get your little bit of thoughts. It wasn't even a question, it was just a statement. So I still kind of want to get your thoughts on it.
Nah, man, definitely, dog. Like you said, man, if that's why I like, and I mean, just not to talk about the Will and Jada moment, but just to use that and how I like the real quick pick thing on that. I've been in I'm a very reckless behavior person. Like, I'm not saying I'm prone to violence, but I'm very quick to jump to violence. It's just like my thing. I don't know why. I have a condition. It's a character flaw. But like whenever I'm out with my wife and we're anywhere, dog, my wife always brings me back down level, right? She's my very quick piece, because I'm a very chaotic person. And she's very quick to be like, hey, bring it down, calm down, breathe. So in the sense of like the whole Will thing, Jada should have grabbed him and told him the same thing. Peace, chill, deal with it later, right? And at the hospital, my wife reached out and was like, yo, chill. I knew that was her seeing me, even though no matter, I seen what she was going through, she knew that I'm pretty sure she could tell by the look on my face how I was getting ready to just take it to a level that nobody in that hospital room was going to be able to bring me back from.
Yeah, no one was ready for that.
Because as the father, you get a visitor sticker. You don't get a patient sticker. You get a visitor sticker on your chest. And you have to like walk around with this visitor sticker. I'm like, I'm not a visitor. I'm the goddamn parent. I'm the dad. Dog. How am I a visitor? And I'm the dad. It's my kid. You're married. It's not a boyfriend, girlfriend situation. So, like you said, if I would have spazzed or I would have lost my cool in that hospital room, they would have escorted me out, sent me all the way, probably all the way to a whole nother floor. And then, as my wife has been as a Black woman in the military, and given the fact we had to sign paperwork to value her life over the kids, there would have been nobody in there to not only record and see what was happening to her and tell her later what happened to her, because women can't really remember what happens in that moment. They really don't remember everything that happens during that whole epidural moment, everything like that. Because like I'm gonna have to tell her stories about everything that happened, how many people was in the room when it happened. And if I'd have been gone, she wouldn't have known. She probably would. Ain't no telling what would have happened. I don't put nothing past military anybody. So I'm like, there's no telling what would have happened if I would have took it to that next level. And then it just would have been a whole, worst case scenario. Oh, the kid, we had to choose the wife over the kid, yada yada. And she'd be like, yo, what happened? How am I going to sit there and say, I don't know, baby. I got upset. I lost my cool. How can I lose my cool in a situation where you're going through the most pain in the room between epidural and birth, but I lose my cool? Yeah. So I'm like, like you say, there is no right way. Once you pass, I get, once you pass 6 feet, I'm a firm believer that once you pass 6 feet in height, there's nothing that you can say that doesn't seem aggressive. There's nothing you can say that doesn't seem intimidating to people, because now you're like not the average height of the people that's not in the NBA. You're just tall to everybody else. So as a tall black person, dog, not only as a black person, but as a tall black person, he's like, no, B, calm down. Why are you yelling at me? You're like, I'm not yelling. I want to know what's happening. But if I was Tom, Billy Bob, anything like that, you would explain this to me, dog. And I'm like, it's crazy the amount of leeway that your skin color can buy you. It's crazy the amount of rope that your skin color can give you, or lack of. It baffles me that, like, if I would have said anything, because I didn't even open my mouth and say nothing, I just was sitting there quietly trying to calm myself down and figure it out. And I was like, dog, somebody better talk to me. Somebody better tell me she's okay. Because, and like, I think that was, like I said, man, that is just a scary thing. And it's very tough to deal with at moments, like you said, dog. Because if I'd have been a white guy, hell, even 6 feet as a white guy, they would have been like, sir, this is happening. This was going on. This is our plan to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. Can we give you a cup of water? As a black guy, they just like, yo, B, if you say anything or act crazy, dog, we finna handcuff you and get you out of here. I understand if you say anything or touch any doctors in here, you're going to jail. And I was like, that was just a whole thing. It was a whole thing, man. So I'm just like, yeah, dog. It's a very scary thought.
And it's something that you said, it's like, if you were a white guy, they would have explained it to you. But
yeah,
since you're 6+ black guy, they're looking at you and they're just like, he's not going to understand it. He's just going to be irate. Just get him out of here. It's just like, it's like you said, it's the leeway that your skin gives you, or the lack of that doesn't, like, the lack of leeway that you get. And that's definitely something very powerful, because it's I guess from listening to your stories, is that as soon as you see your your girlfriend in that position, and you understand that there's a life coming out of it, it's like something kind of flips in your head. It's just like, it is just, I need to protect. No matter what it is, I need to protect something. And yeah, that's a feeling that I honestly don't understand. I'm not going to try to put words to it, because I've never felt it. You guys have illustrated it beautifully. One of the things that I also wanted to ask you guys is that I know that Francis talked about it, is that since he has a son and he also has a daughter, is there a difference in raising them? Because I know that you want to be a little bit, like, you want to give a little friction to your daughters, but then you also want to give a little bit of kindness to your sons. But it's like, outside of just teaching the basic things of just being a good human being, when it comes to sons and daughters, do you think that there is a difference to raising them?
I would think so. I mean, well, absolutely not really. You should raise them as, the same. Me having just one other brother, 3 years younger than me, we were definitely raised the same. We used to dress the same. Mom always, used to try to have us match, very often, and, go to the 1 hour photos, and that was like a norm for us. We hated it, but it was like, this is how we're going to, bond and raise, be raised together. So I would say in that aspect, yes, but as a young infant for a woman, or a young infant for a girl, and a young infant for a boy, that comes into the father mother, or the father son thing, father daughter thing, and then the mother son thing. I would say, but I would say they need to be raised equally the same, for sure.
I mean, Francis, the expert in this situation, from me, in my opinion, you know what I'm saying, with both kids. I'm piggyback off what you said, Mylo. a woman can't raise a boy to be a man, and a man can't raise a girl to be a woman. It's just impossible. You need both. No matter what, and that's my opinion on that matter, and it's a very strong opinion of mine. I can't teach my daughter how to be a woman, but I can teach her how to deal with a man, and I can teach her what to expect from a man. If I had a son, I can't teach him how to be a woman. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I can teach him how to treat a woman. I can teach him how not to treat a woman. And I can understand, because when I watch my daughter, she mirrors everything I do. She mimics how I talk. She mimics how I walk. She mimics the words I say. And I give her props, because as much as I cuss, she doesn't cuss. And I'm very proud of her for that. But she's a walking mirror, and she's the biggest daddy girl in the world. Everything is daddy, 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 daddy. Her and her mama just can't get along. I don't know what's going on with that. They both just selfish. But like, I hear in her tone, and like it's how she walks, how she dresses. Her favorite color wants to be my favorite color, and I'm like, yo, I get it. But if I had a son, I think with having a son, man, it's a different teaching, in the sense of anything that you do, you have to be aware that your children are watching you. So if you carry yourself in a certain way, your kids see how you carry yourself. And that kind of instills in them certain learned behaviors or taught behaviors. And they're sponges at that time, man. So like, I find my daughter doing stuff that like I've done or saying here. So I'm like, dang, dog, I probably shouldn't say that around. I probably should do that around. And like, I grew up in the hood. My daughter's, she can't come around me when I'm having hood conversations. If my homeboys come to my house, they want to blow the garage out, cool. My door gets shut, both doors get shut, and my daughter ain't allowed nowhere near this door. You know what I'm saying? If she sees them out here drinking alcohol and smoking, she can't even watch it. It's not that I don't want her to be aware. It's just not time to introduce her to that type of environment yet. And that's what I'm doing now. I don't let her be introduced to the hood rat shenanigans that I was introduced to at such a young age. And I think that comes, you know what I'm saying, that's very strong in like developing your child. And when it comes to like a boy or a girl, like I'm not an expert on like having a son, but like, how do you, so like what Francis and what me and my Mylo said earlier, like how do you find the patience to allow them to explore curiosity, but also cut certain curiosities off at a certain limit? Like, be curious, explore, but don't go too goddamn far. Bring your ass back just a little bit more. Bring him coming back here. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you like, I listen, okay, it was kind of funny, but don't you ever go put that on, do that again, apply that to your face. You know what I'm saying? Put that down. I know you love your mama, but don't put her makeup on. And it's like, how do you allow a kid to be a kid and explore? Because you don't want to shut off their imagination or exploration, but like, what's the line? And how do you figure out what's the line? And where do you cut it off at? And I think like that's the thing as a males, as fathers, that's something that we have to figure out. That's something we have to work with. That's something that having a great wife or a great woman that's a mom, whether she's your wife or your girlfriend or none of the above, but just having a great partner that's helping you co-parent, that's where they come in at. Because they have to give as much and teach just as much as you. You know what I'm saying? What you don't know, they should know. What you can't give the kids, they should be able to give the kids. And I think it's a lot of open dialogue with children. It's a lot of conversation. Like I explain stuff to my daughter. For instance, I break down my weapons in my house. I break down my pistols in my house. My daughter watches me break down my pistols. I don't mind it because I talk her through it. She's 4. She doesn't really understand it, but she has a Nerf gun. She doesn't call it a gun. She calls it a blaster, but she has a Nerf gun. She has never once walked around the house with her finger on that trigger. She always walks with her finger extended on the side of it. And she's 4, but she has learned muscle discipline. And I'm like, yo, if you can learn muscle discipline as a 4-year-old and you understand the concept that weapons are bad in the wrong hands, but you treat it like a Nerf gun, like it's a real gun. And I was like, it's simple teachings like that. I'm like, if I would teach my son the same thing, I would teach how to walk, how to talk, how to carry yourself. Just like I teach my daughter how to carry herself and how to speak and how to talk with certain respect levels. In that aspect, I agree with Mylo on, yes, they had to be taught the exact same. But also it's like, you got to teach as a guy, you only can teach your daughter how to deal with men, but you could teach your son how to treat a woman. So, and I think that's where it's at.
And I want to build off of that just a little bit, is that what you said is that, well, you wrapped it up beautifully. I'm not going to reiterate it, is One of the things that I came across when I was reading and then also I listened to a lot of other YouTube videos is I have a lot of time on my hands. But what the person I was watching, he said is that like a man raises his son, but the son gets validated as a man by his mother. And the woman raises her daughter and gets validated as a woman by her father. So kind of the thing, and I know like some people might view it in a different way, but the thing is it's like my father taught me how to be a man. And then my mother recognized me as a man. And it's just like, son, you got it. You got it. And it's like, you know what, Mom? I do got this shit. It's like, I'm like, yeah, King Kong ain't got, nope. He's still here. So like, but that's I think that's the dichotomy and the balance that people need to understand. Is like my philosophy is that within life there's a balance to everything. So yes, like within raising, like as a father raising a son and a daughter, there's a balance to it. But then outside of that, in the terms of parenthood, there needs to be a balance to it. It's just like, I'm raising a son. Make sure that I do it right and you validate that son. You're raising a daughter. I'm going to make sure that you do it right and validate that daughter. It's just like, because when you send if you don't raise a child right and you just send them out into the world, we've seen what happens when people aren't raised right. So it's just like, what is the type of child that you would be comfortable when you are not around anymore? They don't need to be checked. And that's kind of the thing, is just that you need to prepare. I think Black Panther did it right. It's just like, a father who has not prepared his son for a life without them has failed as a father. And it's just like, again, I'm not the one with children, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, as a father, it's like, male or females, that you need to prepare your children for, first of all, just both parents, but we're talking about fathers. It's like, you need to prepare your children for a life without you. And at roughly around 18, when they're considered an adult, it's just like, have you done that? Like, have you prepared them to navigate this thing called life without you there? Sorry, I think I got a little bit too deep for the intro. But Francis?
Yeah, man, I think you both made some great points, because you both have two different perspectives. Now, kind of coming in, me giving the perspective of someone who has both, I'll say one thing when it comes to parenting: the way that we parent, me and my wife, might be different than how your spouse, how you guys parent. And there's not one right way. It's how I kind of think of things, is what works for you and your family. So for us, I'm in agreement of, yes, we raise them both the same. Like, I'm not going to let my son do something. It's kind of that, what we're programmed, right? Oh, he's a boy, he gets to do that. I'm not like that with my son. I'm like, no, you cannot do that. And the same thing with my daughter. It's like, no, just because you're a girl, you don't get away with that. No, I teach them the same, but there's certain lessons that they're both going to get differently, because as a Black woman, she's going to be viewed differently than my son being a Black man in this world. So when I say we raise them differently in certain things, that's what I'm talking about, because there's certain conversations that he won't ever hear in his lifetime, and then conversations that she'll never hear. But like Ashanti said, preparing them for us not being here is the major key in that. But definitely just understand, I think it all comes to just patience and breaking things down to them, like Nelly did, with firearms in your home, breaking that down to her. This is what that means. And Mylo's going to get to that stage little man's 11, he's gonna be 1 soon. He's gonna reach that age where things are more impressionable, and he's gonna go into that journey with his son. And you know, there's no right or wrong. It's, you know, just talking them through the different things. And in this world, it scares me. And I'll be honest with you, it really terrifies me to be a father because of all the things that they're exposed to at such a young age. And our parents didn't have to deal with this technology age, right? Everything's at the fingertips. Our parents didn't have to deal with that. If they put something on TV, parental advisory, boom, we can't get to anything else. That's not the case nowadays. You just pick up your phone, and you can go to any site, you can go anything. People are posting all different things on TikTok. It's like, it's crazy. You can't police the world, but you can teach them to take the information and understand it and how to utilize that information. I think is the biggest thing for parents of our generation. Is I can't control everything that they do, but I can teach them how to understand and take that information. And then they can deviate what's right and what's wrong from what we teach them, what we coach them towards. So for me, that's the biggest thing as a parent I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to inform them as much as I can, you know, on little things that I learned from my parents that they did right and things that they didn't do right. And understanding I'm not going to get everything right. That's not my goal as a parent. And it took me some time to realize that. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. None of us are perfect. But we can teach our children, and they can learn from our mistakes, and then they can be educated on the next process. So having both, it opens you up to two different sides of the world, because I view the world from a man's perspective, but also have to be cognizant of the woman's perspective. And just, you know, just trying to guide them as much as I can. I'm not going to know it all. And that's where a partner comes in, like Ashanti said, to pick up that other side where you might be lacking. And for us men, women are natural born nurturers. That's not something that we just wake up one morning and we know how to do. So we have to learn that. And, you know, just kind of understanding and embracing that, I think, is the key to finding a healthy balance, and everything's balance. You know, there's always going to be good, there's always going to be evil. It's just going to have that healthy balance of just teaching.
No, I definitely agree that having a balance is important. And with that balance, with the yin and yang, there's one side to everything. So I just wanted to ask you guys, is that what is the importance of having a Black father in the household? Because a lot of times people think that, like, if you come, like, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting who said it, but it's like, oh, on the weekend, Mylo, I think he said it's like on the weekends or something like that. And it's just like, there is a certain type of importance that comes with the day-to-day type of, like, oh, you have a question, boom, let me go ask dad. Or if there's a disciplinary type of thing, it's like, oh, well, wait until I tell your father on Saturday, which doesn't, I don't want to say put fear in the kid, but coming from a two-parent household, is that my mom would discipline us, and then when she would say, wait until I tell your father, nigga. Like, it put a different type of fear in you. It's just like, yeah, my mother will beat me until she loves me. My father might kill me. It's like, he might actually kill me. So I don't want to say, like, beat your children. That's a whole different conversation we need to have about corporal punishment within the Black community, because I feel like it's too much. We might talk about it on this one if you guys are up to it. But what is the importance of a Black father, an African father in the household?
Man, that's a huge one, man, because I feel like as if we're like the what's the word? We're like the forefront of
kind of like
Like,
the
all-
disciplinarians, like
This,
where
of all though, of all, culture, I feel like. I mean, just hearing from Francis speak on, the different backgrounds that his family has, or the, ethnic groups that are within that family cohort right there, is like, that's a beautiful thing, to be able to learn from the Black aspect, taking in the white, and then enduring the Filipino aspect of things. So I just feel like, I don't know, for me, going back into, our history, we're all a sense of Black, or African heritage, and, and then branching off to, growing up with your mother and your father, you gain, certain disciplines, that'll shape you later on, so you can endure it to your children. And, for Francis, I have a lot of friends that are Nigerian, man, and, their discipline is just the best that I've learned from. And I was never raised, from that, but the way that my friends carry themselves, it shows, they can hang out Saturday night or Friday night or Saturday night, Sunday morning, my boy has to go play the drums. Like, that's in their church, that's the discipline that they have, so it's a discipline thing for me, man, on that Black aspect or African aspect, for sure.
Thank you. So it's like one of the important things is discipline, that the father like adds. The importance of it is discipline.
For me, yeah, absolutely. That's just
Because,
one factor. I mean,
because it's something that that Francis said, is that with the mother, she is going to be naturally just nurturing. Yeah. So if the child lacks, it's just like, oh no, it's okay, baby. Like, oh, we'll get it tomorrow. It's like where the father's just like, nah, we're gonna get this shit today.
Right.
Like, we're definitely gonna get it today. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if you're hungover. It's like, get up.
That's it. That's it.
Francis or Nelly?
For me, I think it's just the presence. Like, it's just that certain presence when there's, people might not like this, but just the presence when a man is in the home. Like, there's a certain presence. Like, you need both sides. And it's just, for me, is like that presence that my father brought, like, till this day, I can still like feel it. Like, it was just a different energy when he stepped into the room. Yeah. And just kind of give him a background. My father was a very small man. It was like maybe 5'6", short guy, tiny. I know everyone in my family's over 6 feet. So it wasn't a stature thing.
I was to say, where'd you get the height from?
I don't know. I have uncles.
Did you get it from your mom?
Kind of tall. I have aunts who are like 6'9", whatever. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, you said 6'9"?
Yeah,
somewhere in
there. Families are very tall. That's
somewhere in there, bro. Like,
it's crazy.
But he was a tiny man, so it wasn't like he was physically like. It was just his mind. My father was.
It was his presence that
just. It was just like, he wouldn't even have to like. It was just the things he would say and the way he would say it. It would really make you like consider your life. Like, he wasn't that physical. He was just like, he would make you think about what you're doing. Right. And for me, it was like having that intellect and that mind. It was just like, man, like, I want to be like my dad. Like, I always say this, I'm not the smartest one in my family. And it's like just the way that he carried himself, and he showed me how to carry myself, And I think that's something that society right now we're missing, is that African Black male in the household. And, I forgot what I was reading. Ashanti might be able to shine some light on this, but it was part of, like, I guess the propaganda was to split up the household. Once you took the Black man out of the household, the African man out of the household, is when we see all these things happening now, where families are splitting apart and they're making it okay to like have separate households, which it's nothing wrong with that as well, which I want to talk about is, back in the day, there was not the divorce dynamic. And then people were forced to be stuck in these unhealthy situations. But at the same time, I think we made it too okay where if there's an issue, you're not allowed to talk about it and come to a resolution. You just kind of, everyone runs. It's like we're in this mentality where everyone just runs. Like no one is there to kind of like, let's talk through it. This is how I'm hurting. This is how you're hurting. Let's come together. It's splitting everything apart. And I feel like the Black man is now seen as this enigma who's never there. And
I'll say that the Black man has been seen as disposable. Is that if you're not providing, if you're not producing, if you're not adding something to my life, for the most part, financially, then I'm just gonna hit the chute and then another. It's kind of like a Pez dispenser. It's like if this is a bad Pez, then throw that one out, another one will pop out. And I think what you were kind of alluding to is that it's what people will talk about, what some people will talk about is that the no fault divorce. And to an extent, it is good. However, is that if I get into an argument with my wife, no fault divorce, because she doesn't have, or we might, both of us might not, but I think it's like 80% of marriage divorces are filed by women, is that like, she just will be like, you know what, I'm not happy right now, boom, I'm out. But I think that comes into where people, a majority of people, I'll just say this within the Black community, based off the statistics, haven't seen a 2-parent household. So if something goes wrong, then it's just like, well, I'm not happy, let me leave. They haven't seen their parents necessarily unhappy and still worked it out. Granted, I'm also coming from a different perspective because I have never seen my parents fight. Like anytime my parents have had a disagreement, of course they've had disagreements, it was never in front of us. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even like a start of a conversation and then they went into another room. I just have never seen my parents fight. They do banter back and forth with each other and just like, we're a family where we just joke around with each other, but I've never seen them actually be like, I'm not talking to you, or just my mom storm off or my dad just like slam a door. No, it's like, so that's the perspective I'm coming from, but I think that is the correct perspective because a child should not be involved in adult business. If I'm fighting with my wife, she's my wife, she's your mother. I don't need to taint I don't have the right to taint your view of your mother because I'm dealing with my wife. So we take it to another room and we don't even let it get to the point where we're yelling at each other and then we go to another room.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep, man. And for me, I'm learning that. Like marriage is new to me, bro. I'm 2 years married. I'm lucky to be here, but it hasn't been perfect. We're still working on it. We fight, we argue, like the same thing, like you're saying, divorce programmed in my head. It was like, even though I come from like African family, where it's like, there's no such thing as a divorce. You work it out. That was my first go-to. It was like, I'm leaving. I'm upset. I'm leaving. And my wife was like, you can't do that. Like that can't be I know I'm deviating from the topic, but yeah, just I'm working through that, like not throwing that as a thing, like working.
Oh, you're not deviating because being a Black father is also being married to a certain extent.
No, absolutely.
If you're married and you bring a child into the world, they understand a married couple. You have a certain duty to see it out until it's like, you know what? If I look at you, I might put you through a wall. So now I need to leave.
Yeah, man. But to go back to the point of it, I think it's definitely super important. It's just that energy that they bring into the home. And like you said, you get to see a man's perspective on things. And, you know, for me, I'm blessed to have a great father-in-law. I call him Pops. You know, great individual, but there's certain things that I wish I was like, hey, like I wish I could ask my dad that. So I can't even imagine someone who's never had that experience of a father being there, at super impressionable ages, young teens, high school, middle school. I couldn't imagine that. So I think it's super important,
Yeah.
Well said.
Oh man. Yo, great points. Francis, Mylo, Shanti, great points. Once again, I'm the oddball out because I grew up in the foster system. You know what I'm saying? When I finally met my people, dog, I was it was so much trauma within me that like I was like, can't nobody tell me nothing, right? But anyway, I knew who my pops was, but I learned more. I like to tell people, dog, when people ask me about my background, I say, dog, nobody raised me. I just kind of grew up. I took points from everybody that was around me, certain teachings, certain things, and I implemented it into my everyday life. I mimicked a lot of things without understanding what I was mimicking. And I kind of had to go through growing pains of learning the difference. And I was having a conversation. It's crazy that you brought this up because I was having a conversation with my neighbor across the street, and I was like, dog, I feel like there's an attack on the alpha male, and I feel like there's an attack on the Black alpha male at that. And I say that in a sense of like, dog, there's not enough teachers in the Black community. There's not enough wisdom. There's not enough sages. There's not enough knowledge being passed down to the younger generation because, dog, if I had a father figure in the household, if I had a male figure in the household, I'm like, dog, I would have wished that while everybody else in the hood was telling me, yo, you either gonna bang or you gonna play ball, versus somebody being like, yo, here's a car, here's an auto book, here's a coloring book, here's a mathematic book, here's something, here's wood shop, here's golf, basketball, something more than the statistical shit I was learning. I wish somebody would have broadened my horizon. And in my mind, that would have been the job of my father. It's to tell me, yo, son, there's more to the street than stop sign to stop sign, color and color. Yo, you can be anything instead of just you can only be these 4 things. Nah, B, you can be anything you want and be my cheerleader, my motivator, my peace, my teacher. And I feel like that's what I didn't have. So now as a father, I'm trying to be more of a sage. I'm trying to be more of a teacher. I'm trying to be the teacher and a role model that I wish I would have had as a person. And the person who I was when I was younger, I think would look up to who I am now as a father and would have wanted me as a father. And I think that's where my mindset is at. And I get to this point off of teaching younger military people who come in that I have to be in charge of, because I always take the knuckleheads. It's just my goal to take every knucklehead and just teach them because I've been there, And I'm like, dog, growing up without a foundation of being a decent human or a foundation of that loving nurturing that I didn't get, that most people who grew up in 2-parent households or 1-parent households had. I didn't have that. I didn't have parents. I had caretakers. I didn't have a mom and dad. I had a guardians. So I'm like, I didn't have people who had me living with them because they wanted me to. I had people I lived with because they got paid by the state to take care of me. So there's difference. So in the stuff I grew up with and the stuff I had to learn and I had to just kind of get out the mud, so to speak, isn't what I learned to be vital. You can bang all you want, but when it's time to get a job, dog, you can't keep trying to rob people. You know what I'm saying? You got to have some type of skill set. But nobody taught me that growing up. Nobody taught me, yo, you got to have a skill set, B. Because if you get hurt playing ball, you're done. You're just a washed up another high school jock that didn't make it.
You can't just keep robbing people because what are you gonna put on resume? I rob people? No, it's
exactly.
It's gonna be resource acquisition. That's a fancy way of saying robbing people.
That's real, man.
No, facts, man. And like these are facts, man. Now I'm just like, yo, and fathers in the household, man, Black fathers. I'm like, dog, who's going to teach? Like nobody can teach my daughter. When I wish somebody would have told me coming up, yo, B, the way you talk to that cop, this is how you talk to a cop when I get your ass shot. This is how you interact with people who are not your skin color because they don't know you. You shouldn't have to wear glasses. I wear blue filter glasses at work And my blue filter glasses for like my monitor, my screens and stuff like that, they're not prescription glasses, but people that don't know that just assume they're glasses. So when they see me, they're like, oh, this a brother, but he got glasses on. Talk to him. Versus if I'm not wearing my glasses and I'm just in the moment, you can be like, yo, who this nigga that y'all got working behind this counter right here that's seeming really aggressive? I talk the same no matter what I got on my face, but it's perceived differently. You know what I'm saying? But nobody taught me that you have to move a certain way when you look a certain way when I was younger. Nobody taught me that you had to maneuver people a certain way to get to where you want to get to. Nobody taught me how to politic. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't taught these words of wisdom and these things like coming up, dog. And I wish I was. So now I feel like Black fathers in the world, man, I feel like it's essential to have that because, dog, that has to be your teacher. And I mean, anybody can have a kid. Anybody can go fucking have a kid and shoot sperm. Man, it's easy. Hell, a female can get pregnant by herself. But I'm like, dog, I wish there was more Black teachers, more like in the household, like not just a father, because you're not just a father, B, you're a teacher. You a sage. You are the wisdom that your child is going to need and depend upon. Or like you said earlier, when you're gone, what lessons are they going to use to solve this problem now? Because the knowledge in the keys and the answers I give my daughter as she's growing up, when I'm gone, I hope that when she's in a moment, she could be like, okay, what did dad teach me? What did he tell me to do in a situation like this? I got it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's what is needed. Because like I said, I didn't grow up with that. So I grew up with very limited options, thinking I had very limited options because not enough people handed me the right resources and handed me the right materials because I didn't have a parent in the household to be like, to really care. Give a fuck. I was in the streets all damn day, skipping school and everything. The only reason why I stayed in school was to play ball. But once I lost playing ball, I was back in the streets. So I'm like, dog, like, I feel like that's why it's important to have a Black father in the household, or hell, just a parent, but especially in the Black community, dog, as a Black father, man, to be a teacher, dog, to understand that you're a teacher. You're not just a father, you're a protector. You're the teacher, the protector, the backup, the best friend when you need to be, the disciplinary, the authoritative. You're all of these things cut into one person. And it's a struggle, B. It is a struggle to maintain every aspect and wear every single one of those hats because outside of your house, you're just a Black man. So I'm like, dog, I feel that. And like I said, Francis with the two kids and him like giving his explanation on how he's raising them, man, and teaching them and making them aware. I feel that. You know what I'm saying? Mylo and everything he had to deal with and everything he's still going through, you know what I'm saying, learning. I feel that. And the disciplinary within the whole, like, you know what I'm saying, different cultures and raisins. I didn't go through it, but I understand it. And I'm understanding the simple fact on, I wish there was more of that. You know what I'm saying? I wish there was more of the teachings. And like you said, Francis, like the person who's your father-in-law, like you can go to and ask a question and get an answer to now. You know what I'm saying? I feel that because, dog, that's all I wish I would have had coming up. And now that's all I try to be now for not just my daughter, but for my junior sailors, my junior soldiers who call me at like 11, 10 o'clock at night or whatever time it is throughout the day and be like, yo, B, yo, Sergeant, can I ask you a question real quick? I'm like, yo, go ahead, shoot, what's up? My sailors come, yo, hey, yo, BM, what's going on? I'm like, yo, I got you, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Cool. Because I knew what it was like to have a question and not have nobody you can ask. So now I'm like, yo, B, you can be anything you want to be. Just make sure if you got to be able to walk into a room and talk to all 50 people in that room about 50 different subjects and 50 different topics. You don't got to be an expert at them, but you should know how to maneuver every single conversation.
Politics.
The biggest crime, politics. The biggest crime as a Black person is to be ignorant. Yes. That's the biggest crime you have because they already assume we don't read and we're not knowledgeable.
The thing is that they worked so hard to make sure that we couldn't read. And I asked, why? Why did they make it so that we couldn't read? Because they understand it's like, if you know, then you can't be taken advantage of. Yep. If you know, you have power. If you know, then you can maneuver wherever you are. And that's the thing that I like. That's one of the things that I want this channel to ultimately be is to give people knowledge so that when they're moving through things, is that I'm not a father figure, I'm nothing, I'm just a nigga talking into a microphone, but you can at least go back to at least one of the episodes that I've talked about a certain topic and be like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Okay, let me maneuver this way. I remember this. And it's like people need to educate themselves. They made it illegal for so long. I think that this is gonna sound bad. Fuck it. It's my platform. Fuck it. It's gonna sound bad. They made it illegal for so long that niggas are afraid to read. Read. It's not illegal yet. And think. It's not illegal yet. If you want to learn how to be a father, there are platforms to let you know how to be a father. If you want to be a better husband, there are platforms for that. If you want to learn to be a better boyfriend, if you want to just learn to be a better person and be well-rounded, there are platforms for it. And I kind of want to end on this, is that it's going back to what we were talking about, is like preparing your children for not if, we know how time works forward, for when you're gone. Is that I'm gonna create a hypothetical world. Let's just say, for the sake of this argument right now, there was something that you needed to tell your children when they needed to be 18. What would you tell them? Like, what is the advice that you would tell them?
Mine would be no excuses, just produce. Simple as that, man. Like, you know, you already have a strike against you being black, you know, a male at that. So by all means, I mean, I'm strong on how I grew up. I mean, my mother's side of the family was Catholic. My father's side was Muslim, you know, so I was able to take both of those backgrounds, you know, of disciplinary, of, you know, strict business when it comes to, you know, getting stuff done, diligence, everything, you know. So that will be like not demanded, but a priority for me, you know, to my son, to make sure that, you know, by all means, you know, make it happen. You know, there's no excuses. It can be done.
For me, I guess kind of what I would say is, don't let anyone put a constraint on what you can do, what you want to be. You know, dream big, but at the same time, enjoy where you're at.
Big time.
Man, it's what I say all the time on like all my things, man. The biggest thing I can tell my daughter, I guess, that'll be stay dangerous, man. And not in a sense of like violence, but stay dangerous in every aspect of it as being you. You know what I mean? Like be dangerous when you walk in a room, your presence is felt, your name means something, your moves, your energy, the whole room has to feel you when you walk in. Stay dangerous in that aspect. You know what I'm saying? If it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't make you happy, never do it. Never dim your light for others to shine, and just continue to stay dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Be whatever version of it is you want to be that. There's no right, there's no wrong. There's only what you see yourself as, dog. And like, that's like what I'm really big on with myself, with her, with people I talk to. Be you. If as long as you're being you and being the best version that you think you being, that's all that matters. Even if you don't do nothing for a whole day, that's cool. Was you happy not doing shit? That's all I care about. You know what I'm saying? So that's like all I could. That's the only thing I ever try to tell my daughter. Yo, it's just like, people, stay dangerous, B. Whatever you think that means for you, that's what it means. Stay dangerous.
Thank you. I want to say thank you for all you coming on and just being just you. Like that's the thing, is that I think a lot of times it's that we get a perception of African fatherhood, and well, Nelly for you is Black. I'm sorry. But we get a perception of fatherhood of people that look like us, and people want to keep saying that we're not there and that we don't care, or we're just, oh, we're in and out. It's just like, no. It's like the fact that you guys shared about like the first like real fatherhood moment you had was watching your child come out. It's like, not like, it's something that needs to be put out and let people know, like, not people in terms of the general public, but just us. Like, for like, this is for us. And I want to say thank you all for coming. And the reason why the last question I asked is because of one thing, is that I realized that my first episode that I did with this podcast was with my father. And going through just recording a lot of different episodes and everything like that, and how time works, he's getting older, is that I realized that when he passes, it is going to hold a different type of meaning for me than when I recorded it. So the fact that all of you have children, then they say that when it's on the internet, it's forever. I think that's true. Let's see if the internet doesn't shut down in the next whatever years. But I specifically wanted all of you to give a message to your children so that in whatever years when you guys pass, is that they can come back and look at it and be like, this is what my father had for me.
Wow, that's dope, bro. Appreciate that.
So I needed to say that because I want
Yeah, a whole different perspective on this, man. Just that's dope, bro.
Yeah,
Real meaningful for real.
because and I'm going off tangent, but it's like, I know some, like, because of the age of our parents, is that sometimes you don't have recordings of them, and when you get older, unfortunately, sometimes you lose like some memories or how someone sounds. The outside of smell, the most resounding thing that you can have is the sound of someone's voice. And I wanted to immortalize that for you guys.
Much appreciated, bro. Much appreciated.
Well, I can't say I got too deep for the intro because we're on the outro. What is the advice that you guys would give to new fathers? And then also go ahead and plug anything that's going on with you guys.
Advice for new fathers is just learn. Just be always willing to learn and slow to anger, and just cherish those moments. I know that with younger kids, I wish they were older. I know I said it, but cherish the time that you have with them now.
Yeah. Shit, man. I did a 13-month tour, dog, when my daughter was 3 days old, man. I came back and she was walking me. So I feel that. Be in the moment, man. Be in that moment. Be in that fucking moment, dog, because when you're not in the moments, the thought of it, the thought of somebody else being in that moment, or sharing that moment with your child and it wasn't you, can mentally almost destroy you. And I say that from personal experience. Being gone out on that and being gone, dog, all I could do was think about who was raising my daughter, who was around my daughter, who was seeing her grow into this person, and I'm missing it. And I know she was only like a couple of days old. When I came back, she was like 2. And I was like, dog, that was enough. You know what I mean? So be in the moment, man. Enjoy that. Teach. And like you said, Francis, be patient, man. Watch them, learn from them, and just be in the moment with them, dog. It's like my best advice I can give any father.
Absolutely.
Yep. For me, man, it's patience is a virtue, man. Be in the moment, as they already said. I mean, it's hard to go around those two aspects. I mean, for me, having the youngest right now, it's like that's what it is for me. You know, every day, every step. I'm ready for him to walk. Like, you know, I'm ready for him to take him to the park more and, you know, get him his first bike so we could go bike riding, you know, those type of things. So, but the presence of being there, like Francis said, I mean, that's the take home, man. The presence as a Black father is mandatory, bro. It is mandatory, and I think it's imperative. Very imperative to be in your son or daughter's life, you know, with the world that we are living in is very advanced. So, you know, you slip up for two weeks, a month, you miss out on, you know, what that child may have learned that quick, tablet, whatever it may be, you know. So don't miss out. Never miss.
Well, I want to say again, thank you for all of you guys that came on, sharing your stories and being very transparent. It gave me hope to be a father. Also gave me a lot of fear.
Due time, man. In due time.
Yeah, we'll figure out if it's right for me. But I want to say thank you for everyone that has been listening. This has been another episode of Toon Toss with the Pharaoh, and I will see you guys next week.